What is up, guys? Marcellus Williams, aka TheSwolefessor, education on health, fitness, social well-being, and today I'm going to be answering your questions about the close grip bench press. Now, before we get into it, I just got to give a huge shout out to Angelino Portino for pretty much being the inspiration for this video, because I am very confident that the only reason I've gotten so many specific questions about the close grip bench press as far as how to properly program and utilize it is because of him. Long story short, Angelo's been posting his, his close grip bench press training, because he posts pretty much all of his training, no matter what the day is, heavyweight, lightweight, which is something I very much respect about the guy. And a lot of people have been ragging on him, saying like, hey, this isn't close grip. Like, I've even seen like people put on their stories, oh, this isn't close grip bench press, memes, things like that. And I'll be showing you guys exactly what his close grip bench looks like compared to like his competition bench and all that good stuff. But let's kind of get right into it in terms of like, okay, how do we properly utilize the close grip bench press? Do I agree that his bench press is close grip or it's not close grip? All that good stuff. So first of all, let's just be very clear when we're defining close grip bench press. As far as I'm concerned, when we're talking about close grip bench press, it simply means that your grip on the bar is closer in than what it is from whatever your usual competition bench press is. So whether you're a max grip bench presser or whether you already bench kind of, closer, middle finger on the ring, pinky finger, inside the rings, whatever it is, close grip bench press simply means that you are bringing your grip any distance in from whatever your usual competition bench grip is. Now, with that being said, the first and most common question that I've gotten from people is, okay, does it matter how close you bring your grip in for the close grip bench press? And once again, the reason people are asking me is because you guys can clearly see, I'll have on screen a video of Angelo's normal competition bench, right? I believe he benches max grip. I want to say he does, or at least very close to it. And that's what his normal competition bench looks like in comparison to his close grip bench press. Now, if you look at these videos, it's very clear that his close grip bench press is clearly closer than his competition bench press. But a lot of people are saying that it's, oh, it's not, is it even useful, is it even beneficial, since he's not really like going in that close, it's just a little bit closer than his competition bench grip. So to answer that question of does it matter how close you come in, the answer is, as usual, it depends on why you're programming the lift. So there's a big difference, in my opinion, between programming the close grip bench press as a variation for the comp bench press that day versus maybe utilizing it as more of an accessory movement for that day. So for example, if I'm utilizing it as a variation, that means that for that day, that is what you're doing for your bench press. So you're not doing competition bench press and maybe some close grip work afterwards. For that day, the close grip bench press is the variation you'll be doing. So maybe it's something as simple as you work up to a top set at whatever rep range or whatever prescribed RPE, and then maybe you have some back down sets based upon a percentage drop of that top set. That's something that I like to utilize with the close grip bench a lot, is putting it on a secondary day. I'll probably start it with higher reps, whether it's, it can be sets of 8, 7, 6, but I'll gradually undulate those reps downward, right? So I'll let the close grip bench press on that secondary day get as heavy as triples, doubles, in some cases, even singles. So when I'm utilizing it as a variation like that, I usually recommend my clients only go in 2 to 3 fingers from whatever their competition bench is. And there's a couple of reasons why I like to do this. The first is the fact that I don't want it to be drastically different from their competition bench, because I'm using it as a variation of that. The reality is, from the fact that it's already like, just closer, like even if it's only 2 or 3 fingers, that is a longer range of motion. So we are gonna get some more hypertrophy benefits from that, yes. But beyond that, we have to remember that, okay, one, if we're utilizing it as a variation, yes, it's often to get, some additional hypertrophy work, because it's a longer range of motion. And two, it also can be just to help, the shoulders feel a little bit better. Just changing that movement up that much by 2, 3 fingers can be a little bit less pressure on the shoulders, especially if you're a max grip bench presser. We know that max grip bench tends to beat up people's shoulders from time to time, unless you're somebody where you have like, a super mega arch with very minimal range of motion. They tend to be able to like, max grip bench 4 or 5 times a week. People like Sean Noriega, they don't have as much of an issue with that, right? But from just changing that stimulus up a little bit, it can help the shoulders feel better. But I don't want to change the stimulus so much to where it's drastically different from what they can do with their competition bench press. So that's one of the benefits of it. From only bringing the fingers in, like say 2 to 3 from your competition bench press, you shouldn't see a drastic drop in strength in terms of what you can do. And the reason I like this is because, like I said, I may get it to a point where I'm programming it, even if it starts with higher reps, where it gets as low as triples, doubles, singles. And I feel like you're gonna have way better carryover to your competition bench press if your close grip bench press is not that drastically different in terms of the loads you're moving, right? And then how different it feels. So that's why if I'm programming as a variation, then I like to do it for, say, just 2 to 3 fingers. And an example is something that I do with my client Michael C all the time, where if I give him close grip bench press, it's not so much because I'm just trying to have him do an extremely close, closer grip for a long range of motion. It's more so just to keep his shoulders healthy. Just bringing it in like 2 to 3 fingers allows him to not feel as beat up as he would if I gave him a secondary heavier day where he was doing his normal comp grip. So that's why I like to utilize it as a variation in terms of just 2 to 3 fingers in for that. Now, if I'm using it as more of an accessory movement, and the way that might look is maybe you come in on a normal bench press day, right? You have competition bench, you hit your top set, you hit your back down work. Well, for an accessory movement, maybe instead of giving you something like, flat dumbbell press or like a chest press machine for a long range of motion, maybe I just give you close grip bench press. And I would still program it the same way I would an accessory movement. So for example, for flat dumbbell press, I might give somebody something like, hey, 3 sets of 10 flat dumbbell press at an RP 7 maybe for the first 2 weeks, and then it bumps up to maybe like an RP 8 to the 3rd and 4th week of the block. Well, I could do the same thing with a close grip bench press, where instead of it being based upon like a percentage drop or a percentage one rep max, it'll be after you do your main bench work, you do close grip bench, say for 3 sets of 10 at whatever the prescribed RP is for that accessory movement. If I'm programming it like that, then I might specify, hey, I want you to bring your grip like inside the rings, because at that point I am using it as an accessory movement to really just maximize hypertrophy. It's not so much about having as much carryover to the concept specific bench, so much as it's just getting additional volume and a longer range of motion on the muscles involved in the bench press. So when I'm programming it like that, then yes, I probably don't want them just coming in 2 or 3 fingers. I want to actually get a nice long additional range of motion. However, when it comes to powerlifting, there's lots of alternatives to that. You can do something as simple as you can do a chest press machine for your accessory movement to get additional volume and range of motion on the chest, triceps, and shoulders. You can do something like weighted dips. You can do dumbbell press or feet up dumbbell press, because utilizing all of these will put that additional range of motion on the pecs, right? So it just depends on why you are programming the close grip bench press in the first place. So it's not that what Angelo is doing is incorrect. It just depends on why Joe is programming it for him. If his mindset is similar to mine, where hey, I'm going to start with higher reps, but I'll eventually undulate these reps downward, or hey, I just want you to have a slightly closer grip than your competition grip for a slightly longer range of motion, but I still want the strength to be about the same, then it makes sense that he's only coming in 2 to 3 fingers, because it's all going to be relative, right? Like with somebody like me, where my competition grip is already like pinky, pretty much like right inside the ring, like barely touching right inside the ring, it's one of these things where for me, if I do any type of close grip variation, it literally is just going to be 2 to 3 fingers in from my competition style bench. I'm never gonna do much more than that, because my competition grip is already so close. I'm already getting a really good range of motion. So if I utilize the close grip bench like what you guys have been seeing me do, it literally is just gonna be 2 to 3 fingers in. Now, if people look at my close grip versus Angelo's, they're gonna be like, oh, Marcel's is doing a true close grip. That's what it's supposed to look like. But we're still doing the same thing, just 2 to 3 fingers in from our competition bench. So a lot of it is all relative. Now, another common question that I was getting from people is, okay, in the same way that you may have someone like Angelo or any type of max grip bench presser do close grip, will I therefore give someone who benches really close like myself, will I give myself a max grip variation in order to kind of like just change up the range of motion, change the stimulus? And the answer is usually no. I probably won't do that more often than not, because it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. At the end of the day, like I said, the benefit of having, say, someone who benches wider with a max grip, or even if it's not quite max grip, but just with a wider grip in general, to doing close grip is, one, you're getting that additional range of motion from more hypertrophy, and two, it's probably just gonna not beat your shoulders up as much. Well, for someone like me, where I've actually experimented and played with the wider grip bench press, which I don't regret, I feel like from that, I realized that, hey, it's a lot harder for me to kind of keep my scapula tight, stay in the proper position, externally rotate with this wider grip. So when after months of trying that, when it wasn't feeling that great and wasn't feeling great for my shoulders, when I went back to the closer grip, it allowed me to feel that much tighter with the closer grip, because I learned to kind of try to maintain that tension with the wider grip. However, it's not something that I would just program myself for no reason. I was trying it to see if that would end up being my competition grip, but it wouldn't make much sense for me to go back to it, because the whole reason why I'm using the closer grip is because it feels healthier, it feels stronger, and doesn't beat me up as much. So to program myself a wider grip variation doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, because one, it's probably going to beat my shoulders a little bit more, and two, it's just decreasing the range of motion, which isn't usually what we want when it comes to programming a variation or accessory movement. Now, something that I might do right is, like I said, for me, if I do close grip, I just can go 2 to 3 fingers in. Or if I feel like, you know what, I don't really need to do close grip because of how close my competition grip is, I might just do something like Larson press or feet up bench. So that way, that's increasing the range of motion that way. Now, once again, there are exceptions to this. If, let's say I have a lifter who benches as close as like my friend Christian, aka Chest Nipson on Instagram. If you guys have seen this guy bench, he has a truly close grip bench. Now with somebody like him, because of how close his grip is, I could see myself programming him some wider bench press. Nothing like max grip, but because his grip is so like close to, like, it's pretty much like on the smooth, way inside the rings, I might give him like a day maybe towards the end of his training week where he's getting some additional bench volume in with at least pinky on the ring. Just so that way it's not quite a long range of motion, because that longer range of motion with how long his arms is and how long, you know, a range of motion he has to do to how close his grip is, that probably can beat him up over time if he's benching, like, you know, say 3 or 4 times a week. So in the case of something like that, yes, I could see myself programming somebody like, hey, wider grip bench press, like, hey, wider grip out by, you know, 3 to 4 fingers, or if you're way inside the rings, at least go pinky on the ring. But at that point, that's more so just for overall like health and recovery, and if I'm trying to get some additional bench volume in. But there's just lots of different alternatives to doing even that, right? Like, you can do incline bench press, different accessory movements. There's other ways to work around if you feel like, oh, with the person having this closer grip, they have this longer range of motion. There's other ways to change up the movement that don't involve going to a wider grip, because once again, most people that are using a closer grip, they're doing it because they feel stronger, it feels healthier, so they probably wouldn't get as much from going to a wider grip. But once again, like I said, in the case of someone like Christian, there can be exceptions. Now, the last and probably the most common question that I get in terms of close grip is there ever a time where I feel like it just wouldn't be beneficial for anyone, period? Whether you're coming in like, you know, a couple fingers or, you know, coming in really, really close. And the answer to that would, once again, be using Christian as an example. He wouldn't get anything from coming in any closer, in my opinion. I don't think that would be very beneficial for him with how long the range of motion already is. And if you're somebody where you're ever going like super close like this, and that's probably not going to be great either. It's probably not going to feel great on the wrist, and I just don't think that's worth the cost that can come with like the pain on the wrist and like how it might feel on your shoulders going that close. But outside of that, I personally feel like the close grip bench is something that's very useful for most people. Once again, no matter how close or wide your grip is, usually, once again, excluding people like Christian, it's just good to get that additional range of motion, get that hypertrophy. And we know it has great carryover to whatever your max grip width or competition bench grip is. So the close grip is something that I think is very, very important, and something that I think everyone should utilize at some point in their training, whether you just do it for higher reps, more volume to work on hypertrophy, or whether you do undulate it down for heavier rep work, just so it has really good carryover to your competition bench when you're going heavier on that. There's lots of ways to utilize it, but at the end of the day, I think everyone who's like giving Angelo crap and saying, oh, this is a really close grip, but it is, relative to his competition grip, it is. If you just want to maybe call it variation, closer grip, that's fine, but I think it's really silly when people get really caught up on like semantics like that, right? Like, well, that's not really technically close grip. It's doing what I assume it is supposed to be doing as far as his programming. So hopefully that makes that very clear to you guys. I've answered this, you know, I've had a bunch of clients ask me about this, I've had a bunch of random followers ask me about this, and it's always in reference to Angelo's bench. So I figured, you know what, let me just make a YouTube video over this, give you guys some good informative content. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, and hopefully that all made sense. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, go and leave a comment down below, let me know what you did. If you're not, leave a comment down below, let me know what can be better. Like the video, share, subscribe. Keep it simple, specific, scientific. I'll catch you guys later.